But I was going to tell you the incident I was actually going to tell you is because stemming from Ma'ad, let's go to Ma'ad, the tribe, because most of a lot of the Hijazi, Quraysh and all these people are from that, and Banu Tamim and all these people. So in the time, this is pre-Islam, there was this fatak, this kind of this vagabond, psychopathic kind of fighter, warrior of a killer by the name of Damra ibn Damra. Some people say Shaqqa ibn Damra. So Shaqqa sounds a bit more kind of vicious. Huh? Shaqqa, like. So this guy, he had, this guy was like a migraine for the Manazira king. So in this week's Mind Trap, we discussed the Manazira, the Munzir, the Lakhmid dynasty that were a client kingdom for the Sassanids. They ruled in the Middle East, Iraq, and that kind of Sham region. But they had some extensions further south. And this person, Shaqqa, Ibn Damra, he is unleashing hell on their territory. And they've kind of set aside some troops to catch him. This guy, he goes, what he does is he raids the resources, he comes back, he attacks their men, and he's just this one man. He's just a one-man show. But he just randomly, this kind of, it's not even guerrilla warfare, because it's not like he's at war with them, but he's just doing this because that's what he is. This kind of psychopath that just can't get enough. And he'll just go and these belong to the Lakhmid king. People say it was Nu'man ibn Munzir. Some say maybe Munzir ibn Munzir. But anyway, and this king has a huge reputation that, look, come on, we're the client kingdom to the Sassanids. And we are fighting off the Ghassanids, who are client kingdom to the Romans. And with all this going on, we can't handle one man. I mean, where is our reputation? This one guy. So this guy, they say, who is this guy? Because the Lakhmids are from Qahtan, the southern Arabs. That's where they claim their lineage to be from. So to them, this guy is from Ma'ad. So what they do is, out of kind of hatred or despising him, they use the diminutive form, Mu'aidi. So Mu'aidi is it's called tasghir in Arabic. So you can make something small, either because you kind of, maybe it's endearment in a cute way. Like people, like a lot of the names that you find are sometimes done in this form. It's kind of like saying a small something. So let's say how names like you find a lot, like Junaid, Uwais. This pattern for Ail is a diminutive form. So if you put a name on it, Sukaina, for example, that it's making a diminutive. That's out of love, endearment. But you could say it in a way to belittle as well, because you could say, just a, like if somebody say he's not a man, Rajul is a Rujail, just a small man. It's like it's done out of denigration. So they used to call him Mu'aidi, because obviously this guy's, he's wreaking havoc for them. And they can't control him. They can't contain this one guy. And whenever the troops, whoever the soldiers come face to face with him, he destroys them. And it's like, there's an incident. He's got surrounded by 5 soldiers. He kills them all. There's another incident. A few soldiers catch up with him. He kills them all. People are like, oh, we can't. Can somebody stop this guy, please? And he doesn't live with his tribe, so they can't find him. This goes on for a while. Mu'aidi is like wreaking havoc. Eventually, Nu'man ibn Munzir, the king, you see, there's a lesson in this. You see, ultimately, it's like, it's like you had America doing this whole thing that, might. And it's with anything that, with this arrogance. Eventually, let's have dialogue, man. It's good to talk, yeah. So eventually, Nu'man ibn Munzir says, He says, you know what? let's let's befriend him. You know what? Well, let's win him over onto our side. We can't beat him. If you can't beat him, join him. So let's get him to join us. We'll pay him. Let's give him money. You know, he's robbing money from us anyway, and we'll kind of send him favors and gifts. So they start contacting Nu'man ibn Munzir sends this message out, and it reaches al-Mu'aydi, this Shaqqa ibn Damra, and he receives these gifts. And then, you know what? He writes back, he sends the message, all right, go on then. Go on then, yeah, friend. So the Lakhmids are like, phew, you know, that's like, wow. Finally, we get, we can some respite and we can take a breath and have a break. And then they start like, Nu'man's like, you know what, this guy, what a guy, huh? Ladka takkar guy. He's like, what a guy. He starts sending him some gifts. He says, yeah, you know what, king. Sends him gifts, He says, come visit us sometime. Let us host you like champions. Huh? So what happens? Shaqqa ibn Damra turns up one day. And when he turns up, he's this really short, scrawny, skinny, and ugly. This is how they describe him. They say he's like very short, and they say he's very skinny and kind of scrawny and very ugly. Damimul wajh. Nu'man ibn Munzir looks at him and he goes, who are you? And he's thinking, no, it can't be. And he goes, I'm Shaqqa ibn Damra. So the king, he says, أن تسمع بالمعيد خير من أن ترى. And this becomes a proverb in Arabic. He says, you know what? That you hear about Mu'aydi, that his news reaches you or you hear about him is definitely far better than seeing him. So this has become a proverb in Arabic used for anything that doesn't live up to its kind of, its expectation. That أن تسمع بالمعيد خير من أن ترى. That he's like, yar. And he says that to him. And actually, Mu'aydi does respond. He says to him, he says this kind of whole eloquent speech, and he says in it that he says, إِنَّمَا الْمَرْءُ بِأَصْغَرَيْهِ. And it's interesting, this is also transmitted as a proverb, or some people may even attribute these things as hadith later on. But he says, إِنَّمَا الْمَرْءُ بِأَصْغَرَيْهِ, that a man is just really by his two small things. And this isn't an Al Pacino quote. I know people go into Scarface. It says that إِنَّمَا الْمَرْءُ بِأَصْغَرَيْهِ بِلِسَانِهِ, he says, بِقَلْبِهِ وَلِسَانِهِ, that a person is really weighed by just his two, his heart and his tongue. He says, إِذَا قَاتَلْ قَاتَلَ بِجَنَانٍ. He says, وَإِذَا نَطَقْ نَطَقَ بِبَيَانٍ. Allah. He says, if he fights with all his might. And he says, and if he speaks with clarity. And this became also proverbial, and obviously is very eloquent. But yeah, and that's a famous person who's from the Ma'ad tribe, and it's an interesting proverb to know.